Well, hello and welcome to the Underpowered podcast, a gaming podcast where we battle our backlog, revealing what is worth your time, money, and energy. My name is Shelby Stokes, and on the cast today, we have Philip Kieran and Megan Stokes, and here we are. This is episode 89. We are back after a little bit of a hiatus. We're recording an episode. How crazy is that, gang?
Wild times.
Yeah, I'm happy to be back. Thanks for having me back again.
For sure. Now, as you know, our standing co-host Casey Cool is still coaching football. He was texting me a little bit earlier today, and I got to share with you guys the score of his most recent game. His team won to the very close score of 68-0.
Oh,
68.
At what point do you just give them a
man.
touchdown? You know what I mean? Like,
Man.
Casey, come on, be nicer to these kids.
68 points. How figuring out, the game's only 60 minutes long, you know what I mean? How many points a minute are we talking here? Oh my god.
I'm telling you, yeah, when I saw 68 points, I was like, oh boy, that is a lot of points. Okay.
Everybody's getting free pizza tonight, that's for sure.
Right. Yeah, all the orange slices you can handle. That is for sure. Yeah, orange slices for days. Yeah, I think he said like once they were up by like 20 or so, they just put in the B squad, and the B squad continued to just run over them.
Oh, that is so funny.
Yeah, and I know, like, I don't even know what ages Casey's football program is going on with, but the kids know, right? Even if they're like 10, they know that they're being like destroyed, right?
Yeah, that's gotta be a rough one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Killer for sure.
Megan, what is the participation prize for somebody that loses a football game 68-0?
I really don't know. I don't think there is anyone, to be honest.
Extra push-ups.
Okay.
For dinner, you get water, children. That is what you get. Yeah.
Car ride home. Yeah. Quiet car ride home.
And for dessert, one piece of
a
ice.
quiet car ride home. Yeah. Silence.
Listen to classic rock. Turn that off. Turn that off right now.
Put your headphones in.
I will turn this car around right now. Oh my gosh, too funny. Yeah, so it's been a minute. Casey is planning on coming back here in a couple weeks, and we'll get a little more regular. We've been trying to shoot for Tuesdays. Turns out we did a stream last week, and it was an epic fail.
Yeah.
Turns out you need audio from all the people on the cast. Did you guys know that? Did you guys know that?
Hey, we still had a good time. We made it through the tree.
We had a good time. I call me vain, but I went and deleted the video immediately after recording.
I think you have to.
Right?
This was just practice. This one doesn't count.
Yeah.
Well, and especially because you have to listen to that awkward silence where one person is talking, the other person's listening.
Yeah.
So it's just like,
It's just an hour of anticipation, you know what I mean? I wonder what they're saying and just trying to lip read.
Yeah, but Megs and I are playing It Takes Two on stream. What do you think, Megs? Are you liking It Takes Two?
I love it. It's so fun. I mean, I am not the best gamer in the world, so it's a little frustrating at times, but the fails are kind of funny. I mean, the wheels scene was good. I get stuck in really obvious places, but yeah, I mean, it's really fun.
I didn't anticipate it being so emotional. Like, it really is an emotional roller coaster.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I love the different artwork though, and like all the characters are really cool. So yeah.
I didn't catch the stream. Is it is it co-op or is it against each other?
That's because it doesn't exist anymore because it's been
now,
deleted.
Now I won't have a chance to catch the stream.
No, it's kind of co-op, so it's like a 3D platformer type setup, and it's very co-op-y. You know what I mean? Like lift up the bridge so the other person can cross over. You know, that kind of format.
Shelby has to essentially tell me what to do. Which is fine, but yeah.
Well, I don't want to throw stones, but it took us like 20 minutes to beat a boss. And I was just like, can you please just shoot this beetle, please? Like, that's all I need you to do is just shoot the beetle.
Well, it's so funny because like we were talking about before the stream started, my son, I bought Lego Star Wars recently, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But essentially, he's a little bit too young for the game. So like once the game goes from one joystick to two joysticks, it becomes a little bit more difficult for the aiming and to explain the concept of you move with the left joystick and you aim with the right joystick. And I'm like, dude, can you please just follow the yellow light so we can get on to the next area of the story?
Oh, no.
So him and I had to we collaborated with one controller where it's like, how about I let you fight all the bad guys and I'll do all the puzzles. And so
I like how you put that. We're gonna collaborate. No, it's gonna be a collaboration, aka yeah, this is how you do this. For sure. So tell me more. I know that you mentioned it. So this is the new Lego Star Wars game, and it is pretty sweet. It's like a departure from the old school what would you call them? Lego Star Wars games, right? It's a little bit different.
Yeah, so look, I'm not huge into the Lego games to be honest with you, but the Lego in general as a franchise has always had an element of like adult humor built into it. They're a little bit, they cross between kids and adults. And what they did with this one was, well, first I would say the reason I got it for my son, but I also got it because I thought it would be interesting to stream kids games because I didn't think there was a lot of niche out there for parents that wanted to look at kids games. But I didn't realize when I started streaming that Nintendo is more like Apple in the sense that they're a closed system. They don't really want you streaming their stuff without permission. So I got hit with a bunch of copyright claims right in the beginning, and I had to remove all the videos. So
really?
So I tried I tried uploading things onto YouTube, and within 5 minutes of putting things on YouTube from the Switch, even when I did like Super Smash Brothers, it was like copyright. Like you have to get their permission if you're going to monetize any of your videos or do any of that kind of stuff. So I stopped streaming my Switch, obviously. But what they've done differently with this game as opposed to other Lego games is that typical Lego games are very linear. You go into an area, you finish all the guys, kind of like the old school Ninja Turtles or X-Men arcade game where you walk, you kill all the bad guys, you go to the next room, then you fight the fight. This is an open world. So you can pick whichever trilogy you want. Episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The first episode is unlocked. So 7, 4, and 1, and then you have to finish that episode to unlock the next episode in the trilogy. And it's an open world, so it has a lot of replay value. You can go back on and do side quests and missions, and there's different little climbing things you can do to unlock skins, and a lot of it is unlocking new things. And they have a whole free-to-play world where every planet in the Star Wars solar system that you have in the Star Wars galaxy, in the Star Wars galaxy that you have unlocked, you can just go onto the planet and run around freely and just do things and find little hidden things. So there's an insane amount of content built into this game for sure.
Really? So does it follow so I know you said it's not linear, but does it follow like the story beats of the films?
It's word for word, almost word for word of the story. So like if you're looking for new content, there's little things that they do, little animations and little humorous things. But it's exactly the story from the movies.
Is that right? Okay, so this sounds like it's so how many, you mentioned that you played some of the other Lego games. Have you played a lot of them? Any of them? Where do you fall within the Lego pantheon?
I've seen like a lot of the Lego Batman games. I think that's what I played, and that's mostly what I've played. I mostly have, I watch little kids. You have cousins, you have somebody, you're like, oh, this is kind of interesting. The idea that you can break apart something and then build it again into something different, so it's a tool that you can use to unlock somewhere else, is kind of exclusive to Lego, right? You don't really see that a lot of other places, so that's really cool. But as far as content goes, it's a good game. There's a lot of content in this game.
That's really nice, because I know that when I was playing the other ones, it felt like really samey. You know what I mean? Like I needed something new within the Lego universe. I do always like to switch between different characters and use the abilities, though.
Yes, and they do a lot of that too. So you can just use your bumpers or your triggers to just tab between. I think at any particular scene they have like 3 different characters, so you can be Qui-Gon Jinn or Obi-Wan Kenobi or like Jar Jar Binks or R2-D2, and you can tab between the characters, and they all have different abilities that get you on to the next section.
Dude, everybody wants to secretly be Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they want to do it, but it's not great. I mean, he's intentionally not interesting.
You so wanna. No, I really liked the fanfic that was going around that he was a Jedi Sith Lord.
That's my favorite. I wish they had pulled the trigger on that, because if you look back at the first two movies, you can see that, right? Like, it was there. The pieces were there. That would have been
there. Dude, the Lego conspiracy theories are real, or the Star Wars conspiracy theories are real.
Did you guys know that C3PO has a silver leg? Did you know that?
There's a silver leg.
I think this is ridiculous. No, so I saw this. This is one of these Bernstein Bears things, right? Where like glitch in the Matrix stuff.
Yep.
I always remembered him to have a gold leg, but I've seen the silver legs and I can't dispute it. Like, I don't know. It's like the Bernstein Bears thing, right?
Same. I feel like we would have known it. Yeah, the Mandela effect, or that's
the Mandela effect. That's right. That's right.
I'm gonna have to Google that. I've never heard of that before.
Oh yeah, it's a thing right now, all over the internet.
It's a thing.
Silver leg.
C3PO. That's where it's at. Have you been watching on Star Wars? Have you seen the whole series, Megs?
No, no. I think I watched it back in like the 2000s when we were kids. That's about it. Yeah, I haven't caught up on the franchise.
I think it's really hard to go back now.
It's
really hard to go back to those older movies. I do. Yeah. I think those Star Wars movies are hard to go back to, especially the first run. I do. Yeah. Well, A New Hope is real slow, especially if you know the end. It's like, oh boy, there's a lot of sand here.
Yeah, and the lightsaber fight is at the end of that. The payoff in that one is like, you can tell they were just figuring this out. It's like, what if we touch lightsabers 3 times and then we kill them? That's about all we can afford for this movie.
And doesn't he just like fall? Doesn't his robe just fall to the ground?
Yeah,
which I'm sure was very novel back in the day. Like, I'm sure that was very like on it, but it's like, okay, come on.
Although, have you seen the YouTube video where they have the reimagined scene of? Oh my, that's worth watching. Someone has gone back and updated their fight, and they've integrated it with and it's got millions of views, and they've integrated it with the film. So Obi-Wan and Darth Vader in episode 4, and they've done it in a super intense, violent way, and it's so well done that it's a must watch. It's definitely a must watch. It's worth pulling up.
I mean, after they were able to pull it off so well in was like Mando, like the last episode of Mandalorian on Disney Plus, I was like, dang, okay. I will follow you into the darkness, because that last scene of episode 1, I think it is, where they call back an old character.
It looks amazing. It looks amazing. Although I will say the other series, the Boba Fett series, I'm going to be honest, it's not that great.
I got to agree. I was not such a fan. Megan, what did you think about the Boba Fett series?
I got nothing for you.
I knew that was going to happen.
Is there still the girl in the chain bikini?
How much?
Matters, in my opinion.
How much money would you require to watch all Star Wars, everything?
Oh, God. I mean,
9 movies, probably 2 hours plus.
That's like days,
18 hours, right? And then I think you have to do series. Like, if we're gonna put it on the table, you got to do series too. And there's a lot of cartoons.
You got to do the 2 series, and then you've got to do. They have the Clone Wars, and they have Rebels, and Clone Wars is like 7 seasons cartoon.
So yeah, it's got to be 150 hours.
Yeah,
I'm just guessing.
Relationship.
I don't know, chat. If you can figure that out, you let me know. I don't know how many hours the complete Star Wars run is, but how many dollars, Megan, for 3 days of your life?
I would need some
4 days of your life,
like payoff. You know, what is the goal here?
Like $1 an hour? Would you be cool with $1 an hour?
No, we would do more. Time is money. Come on.
All you're doing is watching TV. You're going to watch TV anyway. You might as well get paid to do it.
You'd rather not be bored.
Exactly. I have other things.
Dude, so in Discord they were talking about Extra Life or like the charity streams. That's what we should do, is force Megan to watch Star Wars for an entire charity stream.
I'm great with that.
Yeah, and every time you doze off, we force you to like take like a caffeine pill or take a shot of Red Bull.
It sounds like purgatory. No.
10 push-ups. I mean, hey.
10 push-ups. Yes. Could this be considered torture? Maybe. Maybe it could. Maybe it could. So I have been playing Mario. You may have heard of it. It's a little game called Mario's 3D World. That is what I discussed last couple of weeks. I saw credits on that finally. It's real good. People got real excited about this game, and I understand why. Because it is very well done. And I'm going to skip my YouTube trial. Now you guys know. 3D World, very good. I liked it a lot. It was great. Did I love it? I don't know. Then I played Bowser's Fury. And oh my gosh, that is a Mario game.
Okay.
Bowser's Fury, I think, is far superior to 3D World Land, whatever this game is you're seeing on the screens right now.
This looks good. It looks good.
It's like they have the worlds that are only like 5 minutes a pop. So you like come in, you get your little dopamine fix, and then you run off and go about your life.
Yeah.
Highly addicting. I started playing it because I traveled. So
how long is the Bowser's Fury then compared to?
I think to roll credits, it's only 3 hours.
Okay.
I finished it and I had 50 of the stars out of 100 stars. Wow. So I'm only halfway there. It's one of those games that's so good that I think I don't want it to end. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm going to save this and come back to this when I have to travel again and knock out some more content. Yeah. I'm very impressed with Bowser's Fury. Think open world Mario.
Well, I mean, on the back of that, can we just say, so on a complete side note to this game, you were saying that this probably has like 40 hours, 50 hours of content. After the Metroidvania March,
yes,
I went and downloaded a game so I could participate in Metroidvania March.
Ooh, very
so
nice.
Because it was such a fun experience the last time on the podcast. It was so nice to just be able to have the time to relax. I just got so jacked up on it. I was like, I'm going to go download something right now. So I downloaded Hollow Knight.
Oh, yes.
So my issue here is, okay, here's my issue. I know we've been complaining about this, but as an adult, as somebody that's as a kid, why is every single game have minimum of 50 hours of content now? Like the games used to be 10 years ago that a campaign was like 20 hours. I streamed Hollow Knight when I was first figuring out my stream.
Right.
And I put maybe, I don't know, 8-9 hours into it. And then I was like, I felt like I was getting to the end. And so I Googled it, and it was like minimum, right? 30 hours, 40 hours to complete the main story campaign. I'm like, dude, I was like, what? Look at this map. I don't have half of that unlocked. Like, there's so much content.
And this game is one of those games that if you go away from it and try to come back, good luck.
That's what I'm afraid of now that I've stepped away from it.
Yeah, like it's real hard to come back to. I tried to come back to it, started following a guide, got like back on track. Then I'm like, oh, something shiny, and then have not gone back. So I have not seen credits on this game at all.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like this game, not to get us off track, but this game is one of those games that rewards exploration. They really don't tell you anything about what to do. They tell you nothing about where to go. You're just like, oh, I can't go here. And so then you figure out like, oh, I need to unlock some skill or I need to get something in the tech tree in order to get on. But they don't tell you that while you're playing the game. So this is about as Dark Souls as it's going to get for me.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I see Squidos' Dank is in the chat. You can vouch. She's been playing the Hollow Knight. Dude, I hear ya. Hollow Knight is brutal too. So if you have not played Hollow Knight, you don't know what it is. It's essentially like a 2D platformer that's very difficult and it's Soulsian. So like if you die at one point, you have to make a run back to your dead body to collect all your what do you call them? Shinies.
Yeah, when I
Shinies.
forget.
That's a technical term. Shinies, look it up, Google it. It's a thing. But yeah, I like this game a lot. I'm excited for the sequel. I also think that this game is one of those games that came out, people loved it, and they DLC'd the heck out of it. So if you go back and play it now, like that original like 30-hour game is now expanded. And I don't know how long to beat is on this thing, but
yeah, so I was looking, it said about 40 hours. And I'm like, dude,
right?
I can't. I was so deflated.
Things to do. I got things to do up in this life.
I have like an hour and a half to play. This is like gonna take me at least a month to beat it. I was so deflated. I think to your point, that's exactly what had to me. I had like 800 souls or whatever they're called. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, I'll just go back and get them later. And I started jumping around, and then I jumped like 3 times, and then I started freaking out because I'm gonna die right now. Like I psyched myself out, and I was like, I'm just gonna fall in this pit.
It's so painful too. Like you get on a good run and you're like, yes, here we go. We got it. And then you die. And if you can't get back,
I just set the controller down, the PS4 controller down, and just turned the monitor off. And that's it. We're done for the day.
Yeah. It's like when you dream about not studying for a test and having to take that test in high school. And then you wake up and you're 35. And for some reason, you're still having this sweaty dream. This game inspires anxiety.
It's so true.
It is so true. Yes, Squidos is Dank. The person in the red dress was so hard, I screamed when I finally beat it. Yeah, see, my problem is I get adult mad and start throwing controllers before I beat things. I'm not.
I didn't realize it was going to be so hard. If I knew, I would have started with something that had 6 to 8 hours and then been like, look, I participated in what was going on here.
You should play Mario. You should play Mario because it's 5 minute levels. You get through them, they're good. But here's the deal. I got to the end of that Mario 3D world, and I think I'm misquoting the title, but whatever it is. My in-laws were in town, and I kept being like, ugh! And they're like, Shelby, I think it's time that you should take a break.
I think it's time to take a 10-minute breather.
You know what's more insulting than being told to stop playing video games? When your partner's parents tell you in your home that you should put down.
And then you're psyching out and you get sweaty palms and you're like, oh, this is just never gonna happen, dude. And then you're psyched out at that point.
Dude, sometimes you just got to get those sweaty palms on. You know what I mean? Sweaty palms, they happen. Megan, you played a little Kirby. I was over at your place a couple weeks ago at this point, and you were playing a little Kirby action, huh?
Yeah, it was like one of my favorite games growing up for sure. So seeing it on the Switch, they had a demo, which is really exciting. I feel like a lot of those games don't. So definitely pulled me in that way. But yeah, I really liked it. A lot of the same mechanics from the original game. So the swallowing, the normal Kirby type things, which just made me feel so good. I'm a big nostalgia person, so I was excited about that. The little dance at the end where they go do. Everyone, people should know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no. Do you get up and dance when you get at the end of the level?
I kind of thought about it. I'm not gonna lie.
You totally should next time.
And I love being able to like swallow the different skills and do that whole thing. That just really brought me back. And then there's a lot of really new stuff too. So and if you've seen the trailer, I'm sure it'll show it on here. But being able to turn into a car and then the cone. So there's kind of these different scenes where you got like a superpower and it kind of changed the dynamic of the game. So it was fun. I only got through the demo, but I'm definitely thinking about buying it. I'm just really cheap. So $60 seems like a lot, but I might have to pull out the big bucks for this one for sure.
So when they announced this and Kirby like half ate a car, is that because he's having digestive issues? Like in his old age, is he not able to digest food as well? Or what's the backstory on that? Please explain.
I wish I knew. I really do. I wish I knew. But yeah, I'm guessing they just wanted to bring a different element to the game. I have to imagine. But yeah, that's new, right? They didn't used to do that.
No, I don't think so. So they should have named this like Kirby's digestive issues, gastro. What help me now?
Oh.
Gastro issues Kirby edition.
There you go. No. That would have been much a bigger seller. I would
Kirby and the Crone's Adventure. That's what this title should be.
Hey, why not?
Well, I will say it looks. I mean, just from looking at the trailer, the color scheme looks nice, right? The level design looks cool, right? This is my son. One of the first games that he played was Kirby and Friends. Because that was one, if you haven't played that one, that's one where he can swallow the people, but he has the option to either turn into them or he can convert them into one of his friends. So you can run around with 3 computer players, and that's very user friendly for small children to be like, oh, you have all these extra lives and you have all this extra stuff. So
yeah,
I get down with Kirby. I'm about it.
I wonder if you do that in this one. I don't know if you guys know, but Shelby, when you were over and we were playing, I couldn't figure out. I don't know if you can make a second player.
I was so jet lagged when I was there. I was just like, I don't know, I'm gonna sleep. Like I left the East Coast at 6 a.m. East Coast time, and then like slept on their couch before going back to work at a different show. So it sounded cool. It made the Kirby noises. Yeah. I've heard good things. Mm-hmm. I'll probably play it eventually, but much like you, I'm cheap. Illegal Immigrant in the chat says, "What up?" I said, "What's going on, man? Nice to see you, man or woman. Thanks for joining us." Kirby shout out for sure. So games, they're going on. We're all playing games. We're back on it. Yeah, good stuff. Any other games people want to cover before we hop into the news?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I would say one last thing, which is, here's a question for both of you, which is, as an adult, where do you go when you want to find a new game to play? So, and the reason I ask that is because I recently renewed, for the first time in 15 years, because I'm old school, I renewed my subscription to Game Informer, the print magazine. So I haven't had it for a long time. I used to get it religiously for years and years and years, and then I cut it off because I had way too many. And now that's coming back next month for me. But I don't know where I get a lot of my information about games from streamers, from YouTube clips, right? Sometimes social media, although I'm not on social media that much, but I'm interested to hear what your insight is on where, when you have a brand new game, it's like you've never heard of it before, you have no idea about it, where do you get your information from?
Megan, do you want to go first?
Mine's really basic. I feel like I just look at a lot of storefronts. I really like indie games, so I'll find myself like trying the best sellers on the storefronts. So like on eShop on Nintendo, and I'm also a Game Pass subscriber. So if a game comes on Game Pass, I'll kind of find it there. But I don't do a lot of the research that I probably should. I like to kind of give games a chance, or I hear what Shelby says. But we are very different gamers though, so I don't. Yeah,
for sure. So do you guys want to see my crazy?
Yeah. Okay. No? Do we?
I mean, I'm not. Yeah, I mean that's rhetorical.
So every year, I listen to like a handful of outlets. I get about 4 or 5 outlets I listen to, and I get their game of the year lists, and I turn them into a Word document that you see before you. So these are the different outlets, and I list out all the games that they've put on their game of the year lists. And as I go through, I'll look at this list and tick off games as I beat them. Now, you have a lot of cross-pollination, right? Like there's games on here that are like, oh yeah, totally. That's on all 6 of these outlets lists. So that in my mind is more of a priority. But what has happened is this has become an ongoing challenge. So I got 2020, I got 2019, and I have lists of games going back like 5 years, 2017, like they go back 5 years. And this is my crazy, is the FOMO that this instills in me is not good at all.
It feels to me like this was a great question to ask you, because even if this is a little bit crazy, this document has been waiting for this conversation so we could have this conversation about this document, which I think this is super cool. This is very organized.
It's super crazy. So every year I like go through and I knock off all the stuff that I've played. So I knocked off Metro Dread today. I'll delete this out and then carry it over to the next year. So I can't take credit for curating these lists. I mean, I basically just stole them from other outlets. So Polygon, Metacritic, Game Informer, GameStop, CNET, Giant Bomb, IGN, like shout outs to all those outlets. So that's what I do. And then I cross-reference that with like Game Pass or Nintendo sales or Steam sales. And then when those games hit on sale, I know that they're the cream of the crop, so I'll purchase them and play them later. So Underpowered being battling the backlog, I've created a very ugly backlog where I own none of it, but for some reason I feel like I need to play all of it.
Oh, that's like stuff of nightmares. Is that what you think about before you go to bed? Is this list?
I think about this list. I think about what
I mean, so if you don't get through the entire list within a year, do you delete the list, or you just create a new tab and then do the next year? How many years of backlog do you keep on these lists?
It depends. So as the years age, I will like give them a different priority. So like if it's something that I actually think I'll go back and play, then I'll keep it on the list. If it's something that I know that I'm not going to enjoy or go back and play, then I'll just wipe it off the list. But it's been a pretty decent system for me. Like it's worked out. I'm hitting the games that I know that I want to hit. But I also take a lot of pride in the gaming space. So I want to be able to talk intelligently about whoever's playing what. So, or when Megan's like, hey, what should I play? I'm like, what are you looking for right now? You know, I'm an inch deep and a mile wide, if you will.
Do you ever give up on the game? Like, how often are you giving up?
Okay. Yes, I do. Yeah. Dragon Ball Fighters Z was the last game I gave up on. I don't have an affinity for DBZ. I got in there. I played it for like 30 minutes. I'm like, I don't know what's going on, and I'm not a fighting game guy. Peace.
Bye. I was going to ask what the criteria is, but it sounds like it's a gut feeling.
It's a gut feel. It's a gut feel. Am I having fun? Yes, no? Okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
I think it has to be with a list that large, right?
I mean,
like, you can't emotionally be like, well, the reason I was thinking about that was because I realized, right, that when we were young, okay, there was less games available, way less games available. And everybody was playing the same games, right? It's like GoldenEye came out. There was nobody that, like, no one was playing something else. Either you just had GoldenEye, or if you were like me, you had a friend who had GoldenEye and you kicked it at their house because they had GoldenEye. But then as we got older, and then the gaming space kind of took off, and all these
Dibs on Odd Job, by the way. Dibs on Odd Job.
Pistols and proximity mines. That's it. As time went on, right, I think there's the branches and the tentacles went out, and there's all these micro niches. And so nobody's really looking in the same space anymore. There are very few games nowadays that people are like, this is what everyone's playing. Like, we're all going to look at this trailer. And the more time goes on, the less and less of that there is. So I think it's interesting to see where people get their games from.
Yeah, and I think the reason I started this system was that I didn't want to like be so in my niche that I was missing out on other games, which might sound crazy, but like I didn't want to get so like in my way. Like, and part of this was, you know, like I fell into the MMO hole for a little while, and it wasn't very long. But the reason I had to get away from MMOs is I didn't want to commit to one game that was never ending. You know, I wanted to have the experience, enjoy that time, and then move on to something else. And from that philosophy has come this list, because I want to be able to experience as much as these different opportunity or experiences before like eventually they put me in the dirt. You know what I mean? Like I want to feel the emotions of a Life is Strange. I want like the complexity of an RPG. So I'm trying to get in on everything, man.
Except for sports games. Let's just all agree that, listen, too many years in a row of buying Madden, and I just can't Can't do it anymore.
I hear you. I hear you. I tried to play Windjammers, which is like a pseudo sport. Like it's not a real sport. Same thing. I was just like, well, one person wins and one person loses, and they're
Although
5-minute matches.
there is a new Mario soccer game coming out.
Yes.
And I actually think that I will check it out because for whatever reason, I have like nostalgic feelings of Mega Man Soccer. I don't know if you ever played that game when you were a kid.
I don't know that game.
Mega Man Soccer, it's pretty much the same exact game that they've reinvented here with Mario Soccer. It's soccer light. You have a smaller team and everyone has a superpower. And Mega Man Soccer just used to be like, this guy does a charge up shot and he automatically gets a goal. It's like when they did NFL, what was the one? Street football, or the one where you got to run along the wall. Did you ever play that one? Where it was backyard football and you got to throw the ball and you would do these tricks over the wall. So I might check the Mario Soccer game out.
I'd be game for that. Especially if we can get like an online group going too. Like it's always more fun to play sports with friends.
Yes, it is.
I don't care what anybody says. Always more fun to play with friends. So let's launch into the news. This is also known as the Speculation News Network because we don't really know what we're talking about, but we like to talk about news from time to time. And our first story comes to us from IGN, and you can see it right here. Let's try that again, right here. And essentially, it says Ubisoft reportedly being targeted for acquisition. Bum, bum, bum. These are anonymous sources from Bloomberg, or Bloomberg has revealed, or anonymous sources told Bloomberg that people are looking at buying Ubisoft. What do you guys think of this?
Just a matter of time, honestly. It seems like they're all being picked up.
Boy, that's upbeat.
I mean, I feel like I agree. I agree 100%. I think it's inevitable. I mean, I think that, a couple years ago, I had written an article about this very topic of how just different. It's not good for gamers. You're not going to have. Some people have access to certain systems. And you can see whoever picks them up, right? It's like Sony's going to have exclusives. Xbox is going to have exclusives. It feels like we waited 10 years to have. What's the term, like cross compatibility, or to be able to play games, and now you're going in the opposite direction with everybody competing and trying to acquire different IPs to compete. So I don't know that it's super great.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if it'll change much in terms of what the output is, but yeah, it's interesting to see kind of all the different conglomerates. I'm interested that it is a private equity firm and not a Twitter or a YouTube or something crazy like that. But yeah, I guess we'll see. Ubi was one of those ones though that I kind of always loved that it was private. Being based out of Montreal, and I feel like it has such a strong culture comparatively to like Activision. So yeah, I'm curious to see what happens with this one.
Yeah, and Ubisoft has done they've taken some swings, and that's always nice to see. I'm really interested to see what they would do with this. Like, say they get acquired by some private equity firm, is that going to change the culture? You know what I mean? Like, what is that actually going to foreseeably do to the company if that acquisition is made? I guess it's all speculation at this point, but
yeah, I mean, I think you look at things like, for me, I look at one of my favorite games of all time, and I look at, which is StarCraft, and you look at Blizzard, right? Mm-hmm. And when StarCraft came out, you had all these developers who were they were a smaller company, and they were doing everyone was doing everything. They had to learn how to do all the different skills. They had to develop, and they had to do PR work, and they had to do, right? And then as you get more and more resources added to the pile, right? That's great. You have all these resources. You can do all these cool things. But then everyone kind of becomes more and more specialist, right? And then there does become a disconnect, I think, sometimes from the work. I saw that as StarCraft went on, right? I enjoyed it less and less as more and more resources were poured into it. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, it seems like the takeovers that are happening just in the last 12 months are just insane to watch too. With going back to Microsoft buying Bethesda. I don't know if that was this year or last year or in the last 12 months, but we've seen some pretty big acquisitions, and it's just interesting that they're continuing to play out. Like, it's probably because money is cheap right now in terms of where these companies are at, and they're all doing land grabs to see where everything lands within the next 10 years. So Ubisoft is a good thing to buy. I would feel like they have enough notable IP within their umbrella that they could really do some damage with whomever they partner with.
Well, and also, yeah, I mean, I would agree 100%. And we also are going through this weird time, right, where you're making, I mean, if you think about it really, right, like you're making so much money off of like intellectual property, right, off of an idea, which is not something that has, right, it's not as current as other things, right? Before, if you had a service like you made a chair or you did something, there was a physical thing there, right? This is just you make it and you maintain it and it just keeps generating revenue. So you buy an IP like this and you can really maximize. Like, I think back to like the Guitar Hero days or the Rock Band days where this concept would come out, right, and be like, oh, this is so novel, and then they just like squeeze it for all it's worth, you know, DLCs and here's this pack. And it's like, until you've had enough and we've squeezed this dry. So that's always my fear of things, you know what I mean? And I think that that's why I end up going back to indie games. I'll take a break. We look at something like a game like Warzone, which I put my fair share amount of time into. And a game like Warzone, right, is the game is just as a game is fundamentally broken. It's a broken game. It's got glitches, but they're making every day. You know, I don't even know, it's an astronomical number. It's millions of dollars every day on downloadable content, on skins, on right, this type of model. So that's what always my fear is when I see a takeover like this, is that a company's going to come in and this gentle, like, I look at developers like the people that developed The Witcher, and if you went back and you bought The Witcher 3, okay, and you bought The Witcher 3 and you opened up the physical disc, they had a piece of paper inside of the disc. They had a piece of paper inside the disc that said pretty much like, you paid $60 for this game, and all the content that comes, all the patches, it's all going to be free. And like, that's the type of relationship that I think that can, you know, that I want from a person that makes a game. It's like, hey, I spent this much money, right? I would hope that you would want to maintain this thing that you made. So I think that that's always a fear.
Yeah, definitely. And games as a service right now is something, it's quite a spectacle. You know, it's always been kind of touted and it feels like it's more real than ever. You know, I see a shout out for Apex in the chat. Illegal, you're exactly right. I think Apex is like top notch, and games as a service, I think they're doing it better than many. I would be really interested to see where the acquisitions continue to go, and hopefully they can just maintain some of those IPs. I think like something that's spotlit right here is Splinter Cell. Like, that's ready for a reboot, and there's been rumors of that in the works. Like, they have a catalog here that could be mined for a while. You know what I mean? Like 20, 30 years in the future. So whoever's picking this up is going to be good to go for some time. Speaking of picking things up, our next story has to do with somebody picking something up. Your boy Elon.
Your boy. I don't think anyone should call him your boy.
Your boy Elon bought the Twitter. I don't know why Trump is listed here. Elon Musk to buy Twitter for $44 billion deal. How about this? So Elon's kind of a big deal. Don't know if you've heard about him. He's basically a real life Iron Man. He makes spaceships. It's kind of cool. He is now not the sole owner, but the majority stake owner in Twitter.
Yeah, I know. It's so crazy. I mean, I don't know how long this was in conversations for. I might not know enough, but I had heard something that he was mostly interested in it because he wasn't in agreement with some of the practices that Twitter was having it with the censorship. So I think that's why you're seeing Trump there. So I don't know if that's the full background, but that is what I heard.
Well, I know that like Elon is very loud on Twitter, like always has been, and doesn't really hold back. You know, he got in trouble with the government for like pumping and dumping stock at some point because he said something on Twitter, stock flew, and then he dumped some, and then he got he got in trouble for that. I know that he's been touting an edit capability on Twitter. So right now, if you go and post something on Twitter, you cannot go back and edit it. You cannot change it. But he's pushing for an edit button. The story goes on to say Twitter has been talking about an edit. They've been beta testing it or something of that nature, but it's not public facing yet. And then within this conversation and these stories that have been breaking in the last 48 hours, everybody is speculating about DT. And I don't want to make this a political deal, but as many of you know, Donald Trump, former president of the United States, was banned from Twitter. And this, if Musk is the not the sole owner, but if he's the majority stake owner, he could make decisions like unmuting some of those different personalities that have already been taken down. So kind of a weird time. How crazy is it that Elon is just so baller status that he'd be like, Twitter? Nah.
Well, here's the thing. It's everyone wants to handle the conversation kind of very delicately, and I understand why, because everybody has their different opinion. And I look at it like this: there's a group of people that are going to be way too happy. There's going to be a group of people that are going to be way too mad, and mostly it's probably not going to change much. I don't really like to use Twitter. The only reason why I use Twitter is because I want to keep up to the minute with traffic or news or something that's happened 5-6 minutes ago. Musk as a character, because it's like, look, I don't know Elon Musk, but to me, he's a character. He's done cool things, right? PayPal, Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink. He's doing interesting things. He has a definitive plan that he wants to go to Mars by 2029, I think is what he's now said they're going to do. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think I read an article this morning that said that Trump has already said, regardless of whether Elon Musk takes over, he's not going to be coming back to Twitter because he's created his own social media. And that he will be touting his own brand and doing his own thing. So we will see what happens.
Dude, it was made at Trump University. It was a whole bunch of interns. They got together for a couple weekends. They just knocked it out.
Oh, no.
Copy and paste.
Yeah, game jam. I think I'm just happy that Twitter's in the news, because let's face it, I mean, the social media of Twitter feels like it's kind of on its way out. You know what I mean? There's the talks. There's other social medias that are popping off in front of it. IG, Instagram it feels like may have more of a following than Twitter. I don't know that for sure, but I know that Twitter has been around for a good while now, 15, 20 years.
Yeah. And I think that
15 is probably more accurate.
The platform itself is conducive for, it's not really meant for open discussion, right? You know what I mean? It's more like that's what it was designed for in theory, is to have a conversation. But it's not like this where you're talking to somebody even on Teams or right. The way that it's fleshing itself out is it's kind of built for knee-jerk reactions. It's built for being kind of toxic, just not in a philosophical standpoint, but just the way it's laid out. I know I was listening to a podcast, one of your guys' podcasts from a few weeks ago, where they were talking about, I believe it was Casey was talking about, League of Legends being like having a toxic community. And that's another situation where if you look at the game itself, like the way it's set up, it's built for toxicity, because you play a 45-minute match, you get stuck in Bronze League, I trust that's me 100% because I don't play it enough. And you play a 45-minute match and someone throws the game and you're like a dad or you're an adult and you've wasted your game time with somebody that had it's the model itself. And they've, Riot has tried to do things throughout the years to kind of force people, help reinforce, pick your roles and to do different things. But sometimes the model itself is just not a good model for communication overall. And it needs to evolve to the next thing, I think.
Yeah.
To your point.
And I think you're exactly onto something. At Twitter, I kind of miss the Twitter movement. In 2006, I started one. I played with it a little bit. I never really got deep into the Twitter sphere. In my mind, Twitter is always the place people go to yell. You know what I mean? It's just because it's such short content, you can't really fully at that point. You couldn't really fully get any idea across. It was and then next. But it's evolved over time, and it's nice because it is such short format that you can get through a lot of content quickly, which is not the case on Reddit, which is where I like to go. and it's kind of a cool place. Anyway, that's what's going on there. Let's jump into our third news story, third and final, which is the Netflix will reportedly offer nearly 50 games by the end of 2022. Netflix is doing games, y'all.
Yeah.
I mean, do we know anything? I mean, do we know what the controller? I don't know anything about this story. Do we know what is up? They just are just. It could be great. I mean, I'm on Netflix. Netflix needs to do something,
Right?
Yeah.
because
sure, especially after that.
I mean, look, this is
loss.
another situation, right? Where with streaming services, right, you can only produce so much, and I think we're figuring that out now. I think about back when YouTube first got started, right, and it was a novelty, and in the beginning, the novelty was like we consume everything. Oh, this is so new, but then you can only produce like an amazing show, right? You can't do it every 6 months. You know what I mean? So they're going to have to do something different. I'd be interested to see what this is. It could be cool.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to read up on it now, but yeah, you're right. There's not a lot in terms of how it's actually going to work.
Well, I mean, I see here Netflix users currently have access to 18 games, meaning that the plan to release around 30 more across the next 8 months. I don't know what 18 games fall into that category. I know that there are apps that you can download in the App Store that are Netflix branded. And when you download those apps, you log into your account and you gain access to the phone game. That Stranger Things title was on there. I never jumped into it. I know it exists. I know it's a Netflix branded release. And I also believe that they've been coming out with games actually on the streamable platform, which has been interesting.
Interesting. Yeah. Huh, yeah. It's mostly mobile focused. That's yeah. I wonder if they want to bring it onto the. I mean, everyone. I use Netflix on the biggest screen in my house. So yeah.
Right. I just think there's so many different ways that this can be applied that it almost feels like too much to really fathom. You know what I mean? Like I can stream Netflix on my phone, on my tablet, on my TV, on my Xbox, right? Are you going to have support for gaming on each one of those platforms with one title? Because I'm guessing the answer is no. Like, I don't think that that's going to be in the cards. It's going to be way too hard. Not even to mention the smart TV plugins that are out there as well.
Yeah. And I mean, we already have Game Pass, which I feel like we can call it the Netflix of gaming, which would be their selling point if they had that, you know. But yeah. Interesting.
Well, I mean, I think the same thing too. Is like the reason that we keep coming back here, and it was the misstep that Xbox made many years ago. Was that many years ago, right? What was it? Was it going from Xbox through whatever 360 to Xbox One? They tried to brand it as like a device that could do everything, but really people just want to play mostly games on it, right? Like people. Really what we're talking about here is like you can have whatever service that you're going to have, whether it's Amazon coming out with their service or Game Pass or Netflix. We just want to play really good games. And if it's a game, if it's a game or a piece of content that brings people together and causes people to talk around the water cooler every day, people will go on your service, which is why you see all these people buying up all these IPs and buying up Bethesda, because they know that the content is actually going to be the thing that keeps people on the platform.
Yeah. And like, you know, I'm kind of looking at screenshots here. If you're watching the digital screen, I basically pulled up a link to another article that involves exploding kittens with the Netflix system. Exploding Kittens is a great card game. If none of you have played it, I highly recommend it. But this looks to be almost like a Jackbox setup.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? So essentially you would stream it on one platform and then I'm guessing have a phone with the specific application downloaded there and then control from there. Here's part of the problem is that Netflix is going to have to do some serious branding in order for this to work. You know what I mean? Like they're going to have to onboard people and figure out how to convey to them like, hey, here's how you use this gaming setup. Because right now we're in the dark and if anyone should know about what's going on, it's us. You know what I mean?
Well,
You skim through this article and it's not made super clear.
Yeah, I think when they're ready, I think the key will have to be that they're going to have to pull a streamer or some sort of personality that's in the gaming community to vouch for it, to your point, and be like, here's what you like, exactly everything you just said. Like, here's how it works. Here's what we're going to like. Here's our launch. Because all of it's going to come down to execution with this.
Yeah. I'm excited, and Netflix has got to do something, right? I mean, they've done some pretty good stuff in the past, and they just need to continue to evolve it. I know that they took a big hit in terms of losing a bunch of users just a couple of weeks ago, and at least they're talking about it. They don't have the. I think the elephant in the room is definitely Microsoft, and then you have Amazon. Like Amazon's going to make a big play for gaming on your TV sometime soon as well. They've already sent out the controllers. They have the Prime and Twitch tie-ins. Like those are going to be a couple of pretty big players in this space. And I question if Netflix can hang. It's gonna be a swing for them.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. I also gonna say in the same breath that Netflix is like one of those streaming platforms that I don't think I'm gonna go away from anytime soon. Like I've picked up a lot of different streaming platforms, and Netflix will probably be my main for a while.
Yeah, I feel like I enjoy most of the content I'm able to find there. I would agree. I think they're pretty solid. Like if you ever need something, I feel like you go there and you'll find something compared to some of the others for sure.
Yeah, Megs is big on the docs too. They have some pretty good docs.
Oh, yeah,
documentaries.
Yes, they do. I would say that I agree with that. I pretty consistently delete most of my subscriptions just because, I don't have time. It's like I don't have time to watch Netflix and Hulu and Prime and play games and do all the things that I want to do. So, but Netflix is one that I continuously keep.
Yeah, it's like one of this more standard baseline one. I feel like.
Yeah. Even with the price increase, are you guys still in?
Well, do you know what the increase was? I might be using someone's account. That might have given me away.
I think it jumped to $13. I don't know.
Okay.
It's $13 a month. Uh-oh. I can hear them tracking your IP. Can you hear that?
Yeah, they're coming for you.
They're coming for you.
That's it. Everyone's going to pay.
So speaking of Netflix, our final segment today is going to be What You Watching? It's been a while since we've streamed, so we're just going to hit a couple of things that we have been watching. I'll go first. My wife and I are watching Miss Maisel season 4, and it is quite delightful. It is just it's not super drama. It's not super funny, but it's great. It's nice. It's light. It's a little chuckle here and there, and I'm liking it.
It's a little just some good junk food, and then
Exactly. And I love stand-up comedies, so like their interpretation of like whatever it is, 1950s stand-up comedy is pretty fun.
Yeah, I think I only saw the first 2 seasons, so I don't know where it ended up going, but it's a really well-made show, really well done for sure.
Yeah, and Susie for life, she's the best. She's the manager. I don't know her acting name, but she's awesome. Yeah, she needs due. What have you been watching, Megs?
I actually just finished Severance on Hulu. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. It has, gosh, I can't remember his name. Adam, the guy who's the main guy in Parks and Rec. What is his name? I can't think of his name.
Adam.
Parks and Rec.
Michael Scott.
No.
That's a clutch guess.
Oh wait, no, it's not on Hulu. It's on Apple TV, and it's one of the first shows I actually got into from Apple TV. But the concept of the show is where essentially in the future you can decide for this company, if you want to work for this company, you can decide to split your work personality from your personal life, and you basically don't remember either of them. So like when I go to work, I don't remember my personal life, and at my personal life, I don't remember my work life. And it's a really cool concept. It's like really different, and it's kind of a thriller. The ending was really like what just happened. So 10 out of 10 recommend if you like kind of the psychological thriller.
That sounds really good. I've always played with the idea of getting the Apple TV, and that seems like a good endorsement of that service.
I mean, Ted Lasso is also on Apple TV, which I feel like you would love.
I believe I would love that as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, just like Philip, I'm trying to stay on that grind. Try not to subscribe to every little thing. You know what I mean? Don't want to get that ELT life on.
You can try to steal a password if you want.
There we go.
Well, I mean, way back in the day, right? Like when World of Warcraft came out, that's the reason I never played World of Warcraft, because in my mind it was so cheap. I mean, at the time I was living in Portland and going to culinary school, and I was really broke. But I was like, dude, I'm not paying $10 a month to play this game. I want to have the game, and then so that's the only reason I never got into WoW.
Yeah.
Was the
culinary school back when you were like going to culinary school and then eating ramen at home?
Listen, here's what it was. When I went down to culinary school, I had $6,000, okay, saved up, and I blew it all in the first 3 months. I just bought everything. I just bought anything. I bought an electric guitar. I never played it. I didn't even realize that I needed an amp to play an electric guitar. So I just had an electric guitar with no amp and I gave it away. I bought DVDs because DVDs were the thing. I bought the PlayStation 2 Slimline so I could play the original God of War. Because my PS2 couldn't handle the graphics. If you can imagine that, my PS2 couldn't handle the graphics of the original. It must have been PS2. It was PS2. Couldn't handle the graphics of the original God of War. So I bought the Slimline. I blew all my money, and then I had 10 more months of living down there, and I lived off of one Taco Bell meal a day. And it was like the 3 taco supremes with you need the sour cream for the extra calories, and for about 6 months that's what I lived off of. I know about being poor.
That is epic. That is so epic. Oh, too funny.
So you're not a chef now, or?
So I am now. I finished being a chef. I was a chef for 15 years, and now I do I made it. I did culinary school. I graduated. I worked in the kitchen. I did all that stuff. And now I work in product development for like cheese and new ideas and selling it to Costco. So I do more concept, and I use my brain, and I come up with things like, what if we put these meat and cheese together? We made a tray and we sold like 1,000 cases to Costco or Trader Joe's or Whole Foods or whoever. So more using my brain now, no more 16 hours a day in the kitchen. But yes, the degree did get put to work.
That's amazing. I always that's the one career I wish, because you get to cook yourself amazing meals. I mean, it's a benefit for all of your family and yourself. It's a great career choice.
But if you're a culinary chef, do you actually pull out all the stops when you cook yourself food? Because I feel like I'd be putting together 5-star dishes, then that's giving my cooking self a lot of credit, and then come home and just okay, I'm gonna have a candy bar for dinner.
Well, that's a great point. So when I worked in the kitchen for a long time, well, the first thing is cooking in a kitchen is way different than cooking at home, right? When you cook at home, it's very relaxed and you have time to mess around with your recipes and let's try this. Let's do this cutesy hors d'oeuvres. Let's make these little tea sandwiches, or right. When you're in a kitchen, it's 16 hours a day and it's grinding and you're chopping. You could be chopping onions for 6 hours. It's very different from playing around at home when you're relaxed. So to your point, Shelby, I got used to eating cold food when I was a chef because I was so busy. I would eat cold chowder or cold French fries because that's all I had time to eat. So now that I've had a few years to heal from the industry, yes, I do all the stops. What did we have for dinner tonight? Tonight we had salmon salad. We had goat cheese, strawberries, onions, candied pecans, and we made a balsamic vinaigrette. And I handmade a balsamic vinaigrette and sauteed the fish and did all the stuff and put together. We had salmon salad. But when I was a chef, I didn't want to do all those things. To your point, I'm dude, we're having takeout, because I'm so tired. And I've been, I broke down 30 salmon today. I'm not doing it. I'll pull my chicken out halfway done and we're just going to eat it as is. You know what I mean?
It's time. We just need to eat for sure. So I know we're kind of in the what you watching segment, and I am watching Moon Knight, which is Marvel. Highly recommend. One of the better Marvel shows we've seen, I think.
Marvel's in an interesting place right now because they have expanded beyond what the average user like me knows about the universe, and so you're seeing, right, whereas other movies, even if they were mediocre, they could carry the weight of Spider-Man or Iron Man, or could carry you through the film with the nostalgia. But now with some of these films like Eternals and Moon Knight and some of these other shows, most people, like, I didn't follow it that closely. I don't know who these characters are.
I'm wondering if they're gonna like do kind of like they did with Avengers, right? I mean, because when they came to those first movies, like no one was paying attention. Like, okay, Iron Man does his thing. There's a Hulk movie, whatever. What's the Avengers? Oh, it's all these different characters. Let's just bring them together and like slam these characters into one sandbox. And it was kind of a cool uniting. And then people went back and saw the past. They went back and watched all the rest of the content in reverse order. I think we might see the same thing here. The issue that I'm having is that there's so many players on the table. It's going to be interesting to see how they assemble them. And how do you pick your next breakout stars? In the beginning, you had 6, right? You had 6 individuals when they did the first Avengers movie. Pretty simple. This last one, they had what? 24, 30, still doable. Now it feels like they're just going ape. Like it feels like there's like 60 players in the box, and I don't know which way's up right now.
And you know, my big argument with Marvel, and this is not just the films, but this is the comic books as well. What I think actually killed, and I've made this argument before, what I think actually killed Marvel is the multiverse. When there are 0 consequences for someone dying, or you can reinterpret something any way you want to in any universe, it makes the actions that are happening in the film less consequential, because you're like, oh well, he'll die and they'll murder him, but they'll just bring him back. Or
there's no stakes,
right? There is no stakes. And then also, you know, you have to continue to create a bigger and bigger villain, right? You got to go further and further. It's like Thanos, and then who's in charge of Thanos, and then who's in charge of the whole universe, and then you're like, it's becoming so abstract that you're like, you're just going to end up with some sort of god character, and then that's the end of it.
Yeah, for sure. And I do appreciate the self-contained series, but they're rewriting some of the old. You can feel some of the plot lines are very samey, and that's kind of disappointing. I know it's always been a big thing with superhero films in general, right? Is they feel very samey. Big bad hero comes in, defeats big bad. Like it's very paint by numbers. But I thought they were subverting a lot of that stuff there for a while, and it seemed like they were doing niche films in different genres, which I appreciated. I'm excited to see where Moon Knight goes. This last episode that just came out was episode 4. There was a big turn. And it was like, is this a big illusion, or where's this going next? So I'm excited to see where that continues to kind of develop. But I'm along for the ride. At this point, man, I'm too deep. I can't get out.
And here's the thing. If that doesn't play out in 1 month's time, you have the new Obi-Wan series in May, which I saw the trailer, and I just feel like it's going to be good.
It looks so good.
I feel like it's only going to be 6 episodes. Every episode's going to have some sort of lightsaber fight. How can you go wrong? Ewan McGregor is great.
McGregor, yes.
So we can always just pass it off to that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's good stuff. Well, that's going to wrap our episode for today. Thank you out there for watching us on the interwebs. Feel free to check us out on our social channels. Does anyone want to plug anything? Where to find you? Do you want to plug a Twitter handle or anything like that?
No, so next time I'm on, I'll see you guys again.
Heck yeah, we'll do it again real soon. So I've kind of like told our team I'd like to keep going on Tuesdays. So we're going to try to have something out for you on Tuesday night. Is it going to happen every Tuesday night? No, but we're hoping that you join us on Tuesday, whether it be streaming games with a couple of us or doing a pod much like this. So feel free to come back and join us on Twitch, where we will be live on Tuesday nights. If you want more of us, you can also follow us on our social channels. Those will be in the attached description. We're also on Discord. Come hang out with us. We're chatting. We're always talking games. If you're listening on a podcatcher or Apple Podcast, please leave us a review. 5 stars if you would be so kind. That is a wrap for this week. We are out. Play your games. Bye.
Bye.